Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of our podcast. I'm being told it's a vlog, cover that later, regarding the alleged purchase of a £95,000 Jaguar by Mr Murrell, the husband of Nicola Sturgeon. So, if you like our videos and stuff, give us a wee thumbs up and a wee subscribe, that would be great. Okay, so the latest allegations against the Murrell/Sturgeon couple and the SNP party in general surrounds a purchase of a I-Pace Jaguar out of a Edinburgh dealership. I would imagine at that price it would be brand new, or at least a good second hand one out of the Jaguar dealership along there. And it forms part of the case that the police are currently investigating, looking into the £600,000 of missing funds that were raised by donations from people wanting this money ring fenced for a second independence referendum, which obviously hasn't happened to date, but the money's not there. And this Jaguar, excuse me, was registered in 2019, and there's photographs from around about March 2021 outside the Murrell/Sturgeon's household in Glasgow. Mr Murrell has been seen in one of these We Buy Any Car places near his home. I think I know which one they're talking about. There's one in the sort of Baillieston area, which would be quite handy for him. And he was seen in there with the staff there discussing the potential sale of the car. We know that factually from quotes from someone who was there. And he obviously drove out of the car, so he maybe didn't sell it that day, but was discussing the purchase of it. And indeed, that was late 21, and in early 22, in February 22, the car shows a change of ownership. Around about that time, February 2022, so that sort of ties in. If you sold the car to them around about the end of 21, by the time they found a new buyer for it, February 2022 isn't unrealistic for a change of ownership if it's sat in their stock for a few days. And this all ties in with the timescale. If you remember, in August 21, there was a video from their National Executive Committee, the SNP's National Executive Committee, where Nicola Sturgeon was basically warning the people in that committee not to talk about the party's finances, and saying, suggesting that to talk about these things could actually affect the party income through donations. So, there's video evidence of her in August 21. That maybe not surprising. Not long after that, her husband's trying to sell this quite expensive motor car, which indeed did factually change ownership in the February of 2022. And she was very adamant that, and angry indeed in the video, that the people in the SNP's National Executive Committee should be very careful in what they say about the party finances. It's very, very odd if there wasn't any issues. So now, so far, this investigation called Branchform, we now factually know that they took a camper van from Mr Murrell's mother's driveway, which was bought down south, a wee bit earlier than the Jaguar. That was bought from a dealership, I believe, in the Birmingham area. That's been repossessed by the police, taken into as part of their investigation. They're looking into purchases of jewellery, expensive pens, strange things like pots and pans, fridge freezers, and the police are actively looking for burner phones and SIM cards that may be used around about the same time to help them with their investigations. It's all very, very murky. And a few weeks ago, people were suggesting that nobody had heard much about the Branchform investigation since Peter Murrell, Colin Beattie and Nicola Sturgeon were all arrested and released pending further investigation. And the suggestions made were that the news had somewhat died. So I don't find it peculiar at all that suddenly wee bits of information are starting to come out, because these came from sources, and I would suggest the sources aren't people nowhere near the investigation. So if you can read between the lines there, I think this is a reaction to the sort of, snowball effect of people saying what's happening with Branchform, that suddenly we wake up one Sunday morning and there's some stories, some information about the Branchform investigation, and that's how things work. That's how information works. You know, the press are there, they deal in information, and sometimes there's a trade-off between organisations with that information and those who want to obtain the information. And I see this as nothing more than that. That, you know, there's been a bit of outcry, people wanting information. There'll have been journalists all over the place thinking, well, that's right, we've not had any information, and going digging. And surprisingly, wee bits of information come from sources. And I doubt the sources would be SNP, the potentially sources closer to the investigation that lead off, maybe don't just say to journalists A, B and C, they maybe just give them a wee snippet and send them off to investigate and find people in dealerships that can confirm, yep, they bought that car, and people in the places where it was sold to say, yep, I was there that day and I saw him in the premises, and they can tie together their story. But it starts with a wee bit from a source, and then the journalist has to go about the task of getting more information to then put meat on the bones of a story, go to his editorial team, and the guys in charge of newspapers can then see enough that makes a story and gives them the confidence to go and publish things like that. But and this all ties together. If you remember the guy at the top of the police at the time, who's since left the role, Surrey and Livingston, he did suggest some time ago that this inquiry would potentially look at embezzlement and misuse of funds, which ties together with somebody buying a £95,000 SUV, full electric, lovely, 95 grand. But to be fair to him, it might only have been £80,000, because that's the sort of list price of these, between 80 and 95 for the really posh one. And I don't think Murrell Sturgeon's would do, settle for a substandard £80,000 one. So probably more than £95,000 one, because that's just the way of it, isn't it? So there we go, some more information about the grubbiness, the murkiness, the strange behaviour of these people that had the control of the SNP for large periods of time. If you remember, he was the chief executive, Mr. Sturgeon, Peter Murrell. He ran the party, and his wife was the party leader, Nicola Sturgeon. So, I think it's not impossible, I think it's probable, and I would certainly like to see more public information about the case, which would be somebody getting arrested and an actual charge. These investigations now been on for a couple of years, and it would cost a lot of money. And I don't believe it's the only investigations at the SNP just now. So, the police are very good, and they've got enough information, and they can prove that these things that Serene Livingston was suggesting, that the inquiry had went out with this £600,000 that was raised for independence referendum that's not actually happened yet. He suggested that the investigation was going out with that scope, and was looking at potential embezzlement and misuse of funds. If you've been buying Jaguars at 95 grand and it wasn't your money, and you couldn't prove it was your money, could be uncomfortable for a few folk. So thanks for listening, folks, and again, if you like the videos, wee thumbs up, subscribe if you wish, and we'll see you all again soon.